Well, welcome to this session on Italian Australian writing and creativity. My name's Arnold ZABLE. I'm a writer. I'm not a theorist, and I'm passionate about this topic. But first I want to acknowledge that we're on the land of the Wurundjeri and down by the coast, the Bunurong people. And I think this is very important. It sets the context. We have to know the context as writers in Australia. And the context for me, I think the best way I can sum it up is back in the 1990s, I was asked to work with the curators in the Immigration Museum to tell the story of migration as storytellers. And then I was asked to do a wall essay. They gave me 400 words to encapsulate what was in that museum. And there are books, many books that can be written. 400 words is not a lot. And then the first line came to me: we're a nation of immigrants and indigenous people, a new world with an ancient past. I think that's what it comes down to. Two great narratives and many variations. One that goes back 65,000 years, they say now, and the other one which involves all of us, coming from many different places in the last 250 years. And I think there's a renaissance in Indigenous writing at the moment, but there are also, and have been, for over 2 centuries, many hidden voices that we don't hear, that don't come to light. And we're going to hear about some of those voices today. And I thought, I'm the only, I think, non-Italian here, and I thought that I would share one thing with you, and this is the first Yiddish book published in Australia. It was published in 1937, and it's called Der Erzählungen von Australia, Tales from Australia. And it's a magnificent book. It's now been translated and published in English, which is another theme of our discussion today, arguably, the importance of translation. But it's quite extraordinary. There are illustrations by a famous Australian artist, Noel Coonahan, from the 1930s, woodcuts. The stories are set here, in this area. In fact, there are stories set in Leiden Street, here, just around the corner, and they're set in the 1920s, the 1930s, and they encapsulate the immigrant experience. And if it wasn't for translation, this would be a buried voice. And I'm very fortunate to be able to read the language and to savor the stories in the original. And similarly, there was another Yiddish writer called Hertz Bergner, and this book, which is falling apart, is called Between Sky and Sea, written in 1941. And we've now published it. Text, my publisher, has now published it in a new English edition as a classic. And these are the sorts of things I think that are part of what we are talking about today. How do you move the stories that have been on the fringe to the mainstream? And we're going to hear a lot about those stories. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our speakers. And maybe what I'll do is, let's introduce each one separately. Okay, we'll do it that way. And our first speaker isn't here. Instead, his short presentation will be read by Paolo Baracci. And there he is, the convener, the man who's put so much of this together, who's worked day and night to get us here, and who invited me to chair this panel. And Gaetano Rando has degrees in literature, linguistics at TESOL, and is currently honorary senior fellow, Faculty of Law, Humanities and the Arts, University of Wollongong. He's edited and written many books, and has also translated Rosa Capiello's O Lucky Country, and in 2005 he received a major award from the Republic of Italy. And his overview of Australian Italian literature is going to be presented on his behalf by Paolo Baracci. So, welcome.